Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video, we'll be going over what we know so far about Viper. In the recent live letter number 81, Viper got an in-game demonstration, so you have a decent idea of how the job will flow when Dawntrail comes out. So we're going to cover how the job and its gauges work, share my thoughts, and look at some potential gameplay tips that might help you out when the expansion drops. Now, Viper has 4 elements to its job gauge, and some are definitely not apparent at first. The more obvious one is this orb-looking gauge, and it's specifically for activating their Reawakened mode, or at least that's what they call it in Japanese. That's the ultra fast-paced combo mode with tons of quick 2-second GCDs and off-globals in between everything, ending in a big finisher. It costs 50 gauge to activate, and the 5 orbs at the bottom track the number of Reawakened enhanced GCDs that you have remaining. It's not unlike Reapers and Shroud. In fact, it's almost completely like Reapers and Shroud, and you'll be using it similarly in burst windows to maximize damage. Just follow the dotted lines throughout on your hotbar and you'll be fine. You also get an ability with a 2-minute cooldown that instantly grants 1 free Reawakened as well, so expect to use that in the opener once you have buffs up to optimize on buff windows. This skill also grants 1 red diamond on your dual blade gauge, which I'll talk about a bit later. Oh, and in case you were wondering, yes, you do need to be in combat to use it. Now, the dual-bladed gauge, on the other hand, looks like it has a bit more nuance to it, but it's almost entirely used just to track your current combo and your finishers. As you progress through Viper's several 3-part combos, the gauge fills up in 2 parts. It then proceeds to glow on either the left side, the right side, or both sides simultaneously. This simply indicates which of your combo string finishers is currently activated based on the combo you used prior. You get bonus potency by using certain finishers after the previous finishers. For your actual combo, the first GCD can either be used to apply a 20-second debuff to the enemy that increases your damage dealt to them, or simply do more potency. You'll want to start combo strings with the skill on the right here on your screen in order to apply this debuff whenever it's about to fall off, or to increase the duration if necessary, as the duration does stack. Otherwise, use the left skill. After your first GCD, you'll be given the option to either apply your haste or damage buff on the second part of your combo string, then given the choice for your finisher. This finisher will proc a buff that enhances the opposite blade end finisher of your next combo. You'll also get 1 quick off global to use at the end of each combo that you'll want to hit for more damage. There are several combo strings to follow through, and as displayed in the demonstration, you'll often be bouncing between doing mixed strings between both of your combo buttons, or just pressing the same combo button 3 times in a row. This keeps the filler string a bit busier despite only having 2 buttons. We also see AoE versions on the bar as Control 8 and 9, but we never see these used. Just assume they function very similarly. Each of these combo strings also generates 10 gauge after the finisher. Viper also has their dual-bladed combo. You can store up to 2 charges of these combos, and they recharge once every 40 seconds. Both the single target and AoE versions of these apply that same debuff from your basic combo and give you access to your haste and damage buff via the dual-bladed GCDs that become available. You're also given 5 gauge for each of these GCDs, again 10 total, after initiating the double-bladed mode, and a single charge of that red diamond gauge I mentioned earlier. The red diamond gives you access to a strong ranged global cooldown, which then has 2 follow-up off global cooldowns also ranged. At minimum, it's expected you'll save these for downtime mechanics, but depending on the potency, there might be something to ensure you don't overcap as well, so long as all of your debuffs and buffs are up. We'll need to learn more, especially considering that this attack in the demo didn't provide any gauge. Honestly, if that becomes a problem, that might be one of the job changes we see at some point in Dawntrail for this to give 10 gauge as well. And then finally, you have a gap closer and a basic ranged attack. I mean, there might be more skills we don't see on the bar, such as a proper defensive cooldown, or even maybe a raid buff for debuff. But for now, this is what we're operating with, and this gives you an idea of how the job will overall flow. What's interesting about this is this might be one of the most straightforward openers I've ever seen, and that's considering Reaper exists, that's considering things like Summoner exist. It's a pretty basic job to get the feel of because it's so well guided through each of the individual GCDs. So depending on when we decide we want to put buffs up, normally it's after the 3rd GCD, some jobs do it after the 4th, it really depends. Honestly, this might just make for a perfectly viable opener. Pot just before the pull and then gap close in. Use the dual blade activation in order to apply the debuff that makes you deal more damage, and then you can activate that free Reawakened buff. This lasts 30 seconds, so there's no pressure to press it immediately. You then use the damage buff GCD and the off globals, and then the haste buff GCD and off globals. Given we're trying to time it with the burst window, I figured going with the damage buff first would make a lot more sense in the opener, as opposed to getting to the damage buff faster with the haste application. Either way, they'll both be up by the end of this dual bladed combo. Then if 2s are underway, you can immediately go into that Reawakened combo, and that's just following all the combo strings together. There's not much, real flexibility to how you approach using Reawakened. And then after that, activate dual blade again. You'll reapply that 20-second debuff and you'll do another combo, and all of this should fit perfectly well into buffs and pot. There might be some tech that you can do, like if you want to delay an extra GCD, maybe you do the first part of your basic combo string in order to apply the 20-second debuff. And then when you go into dual blade, it will become 40 seconds and you won't really have to worry about that at all while you're going through your buff window. So that might be one different optimization you can do. There's also the question again of the overall potency of that red diamond gauge. You are guaranteed to get one of them from the free aura buff that you do. So, and on top of that, you'll actually get another one from the dual blade activation. So again, that might be something to work in. That's something we need more information for, but it's a really straightforward job. And after you're done with your 2-minute window, I mean, it's just buff maintenance and the combo strings. You're just going to be following your combo strings along and then refreshing that debuff whenever you need to with that second combo starter. Because it looks like all the finishers are the same regardless of which of the 2 buttons you actually start with. You just want to make sure that you keep the debuff up, haste up, damage up. Make sure you're following the dotted line so you can get the right combo finishers. Don't let your dual blade gauge overcap. Consider saving those for post downtime quick buffs as well. Don't overcap on your aura gauge, but also try to save gauge for buffs for repeated Reawakened combos during those even numbered buff windows. You'll probably be stacking a 40-second duration on your debuff in order to make sure you can safely do 2 or even 3 of these Reawakened modes back to back to back. And you can also consider using them on things like short burst phases, maybe like an ad phase or something like a shorter phase, like top phase 4 is a prime example of something you would want to save gauge for and then do 2 or 3 of these Reawakened. Like that would be a great place to incorporate something like that. But, we probably won't have that ability at level 90, but who knows? I'm just giving you an example. So overall, I don't know, I feel like this might be one of the easiest jobs in the game to play. The big question is going to be how individual players deal with the higher APM. Because it has a ton of off globals, it means that weaving anything like Feint or Second Wind might get a little bit tricky, especially for people with mid to high ping. So you're going to be looking for certain global cooldowns in order to activate that kind of stuff. It really won't be a problem when you're just doing your filler combo, going from combo string 1 to combo string 2, because the only real off global there is going to be the one that's after the finisher to your combo. So you're going to be looking for opportunities like that, but during your 2-minute window, it might be a little bit more difficult to fit it in. It looks like if you're willing to clip, or maybe if you have really good ping, you could potentially fit in a double weave with some of these skills, but it would feel about as awkward as double weaving on Monk when you have the sub 2 GCD, because you're going to be going really fast. Not 1.5 second fast, which is why I say it should be possible, but really fast all the same. And for me, this discussion is at the same time as easy as I think it's going to be. It's also kind of refreshing because when I describe how the job plays, it's a little bit more exciting to me. I'm someone who feels like when I saw the Viper display, I was like, okay, I guess its whole thing is that it's just got these really quick attacks in the off globals. It didn't really feel to me like it had enough of a job identity. Like the only thing that's even Viper-esque about it, kind of, obviously the 2 blades look like fangs and that's supposed to be a big thing, but their LB3 is them like, zipping up in like a snake-like pattern and then chomping down like it's like the, like the jaws of a snake, of a giant snake. So it's like, but other than that, there's not like anything like a poison unless you want to count that debuff that you apply. And, they move around a bunch, but it doesn't really seem snake-esque. It's like Viper, it could have been named something else. It could have been named like Duelist or something like that. And it almost would have had no effect on how I feel about the job. It's just like that's how unrealized the job fantasy really feels. But if you're a player looking for a really fast-paced melee job that also isn't too complicated, then this looks like it would be right up your alley. It just looks really easy based on what we've seen. So it's just a matter of how it performs. Because we haven't seen any raid buffs, we haven't seen any party-wide debuffs, because that debuff they have is more like a Death's Design style thing that fits into your combo. There's that question mark. You know, the Samurai's kind of overcome the whole I'm a selfish DPS, and you do see it a lot in Prague. So I'm beginning to think that this would probably be the case too, and people would be okay with taking this as long as the damage is really good. But there's always that thought, you know, the raider in me is always like, oh, are people going to make a big deal about this? Are people going to, you know, be kind of jerks about it in the party fight? Like, that's my only concern. It's other people. I don't care. Play whatever you like. Enjoy whatever you like. Play it well. Raid. Do whatever you want to do. But overall, I'm glad that it at least looks like it's going to play really fun, even if I wasn't a big fan of the job fantasy and how it was realized. Anyway, that's going to be a wrap for my video on Viper. Let me know what you thought in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned as any news comes out about Dawn Trail, the jobs, etc., etc. You know I'll be on top of it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.